Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. The show's Ryan Coyle, joined alongside Kevin Cannon for our weekly show, NFL Big Five Games of the Week, Week 10 edition. Can't believe we're already into the double digits. The season's been going quick. Not the most entertaining NFL season thus far. So let's hope over the second half of the season that we kind of see some better games and some better teams start to pick it up a little bit. But once again, covering all the best five games on the calendar for this weekend. Last week I went 9-8 with my picks. Kevin, you had another nice week going 11-6. But before we get back into it, get into week 10, welcome back to the show. And how are we doing?
Thanks. Still getting over the Phil's loss, but good to be focusing pretty much just on football now.
Yep, we're fully in here, and then we got Thanksgiving coming up in a few weeks. So as we've done the past few years, we'll cover all the Thanksgiving games, and then as we get towards the end of the season, if there's more than five games that we need to talk about that are really important for the NFL season, we'll make sure to dive into those as well. But still sticking with five for now. We have another international game on the slate, a Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. tilt. We got Seahawks, one of the surprise teams of the year in a positive way at 6-3, playing versus another surprise team in a negative way in the 4-5 Bucks, who narrowly escaped the Rams last week. Bucks minus 2.5 here, over under 44.5. This game will be played in Germany.
I have the Seahawks winning outright 23, Bucks 17. So the Seahawks covering that 2.5 point spread. I would take the money line and the under of 44.5 hidden. This is the game I did struggle with the most out of the five we have on the slate this week, because I'm not really sure if the Bucks have completely fallen off a cliff yet after last week's last minute TD, and if the Seahawks are truly a good enough team to hang with the top teams, or what was supposed to be the top teams in the NFC. And on top of that, the game's just being played in Germany, which always there's a kink in the things, especially for the Seahawks traveling all the way from the West Coast. I don't really fully trust either team yet for different reasons. My gut is telling me to go with the Seahawks, and that's what I'm going to do. The Bucks really haven't given me a reason to choose them. Yes, they had that nice final game-winning drive last week, but where's that been like the entire year? And the Rams aren't even really a good team anymore, so that takes away from the thrill of last week's win, and I just don't really know how much weight to give it last week's win to them. So that's why I'm going with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I struggled with this one as well. I was kind of going back and forth. I ultimately decided to take the Bucks 21, Seahawks 20. I feel like I've been picking the Bucks a lot this year. Finally was able to get that right last week. But I'm going to thread the needle with this because I'm not that confident in the Bucks winning. So I'll take Seahawks plus a 2.5 there. Wouldn't be surprised to see them win outright. And I'll ride with the under 44.5. Just Vegas still has so much respect for the Bucks. It's pretty crazy to me seeing them still as a favorite against a 6-3 team here. I know it's neutral site game, like you said. Seahawks are traveling very far, all the way from Seattle over to Germany. But maybe that last second touchdown drive by Brady last weekend against the Rams, maybe it kind of unlocks vintage Brady again and maybe gives them a little bit of momentum. As weird as it sounds, they're playing a Seahawks team that's looking legit and has the lead in the AFC West after 9 games, after many people expected them to be picking in the top 5. The Seahawks are prone, though, to giving up a lot of yards on the ground. That's kind of the weak point of that team right now. They're allowing 138 yards per game, and the Bucks are the worst rushing team in the NFL right now, going for only 60.7 yards per game. They said on the CBS broadcast, I'm not sure if it was exact or an exaggeration, but they said it was the worst rushing team in the history of the league, numbers-wise. Like I said, not sure if that was exact or an exaggeration, but I could see it for sure. And the game being overseas kind of throws another wrinkle into it. The favorite has won 2 out of 3 of the international games this year, and the fact that the Bucks are still favorites in this one, despite being 4-5 and playing this pretty legit-looking Seahawks team, gives me the faith that the Bucks are going to pull it out. I think that they are able to kind of exploit that weak rushing defense for Seattle. If the Bucks want to be anything more than like a 9-8 NFC South champion and get bounced in the first round, they're going to have to figure out how to run the ball. And maybe this is the week that they're able to kind of unlock that. So, like I said, I'm going to thread the needle with this one, take the Seahawks to cover, but I'll have the Bucks to win. So Bucks 21, Seahawks 20, Seahawks plus 2.5, under 44.5 there. Second game of the week, another one I really went back and forth on kind of up until we are recording. And this is a nice one. Hopefully Josh Allen plays. That would make it a really good test, I think, for both teams. This is the 7-1 Vikings traveling to the 6-2 Bills. Bills are 5.5 point favorites, even with the Allen status up in the air. Over under 45.5, 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox.
I have the Vikings 27, Bills 17. The Vikings covering that 5.5 point spread, but I would take a money line again and the under of 45.5 hidden. If I were betting, I would bet on Josh Allen not playing this week. And I did bet on this game this morning, and the line had already gone down to 3.5. So I'm not sure if that means anything. Vegas knows or anything, but I don't think he's going to be able to play. And that's obviously making a factor in my decision picking the Vikings here. But also don't be fooled. The Vikings are a very good team. I don't know if I would pick the Bills if Josh Allen were playing, but I just feel pretty confident in the Vikings either way. They're a very good team, especially still here in the regular season. My faith in them may fade come January and February when it gets real intense in the crunch time and the postseason when games truly matter. Right now, a lot of the Vikings' success is coming down to protecting the ball and getting it in the hands of their playmakers like Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. The Vikings are 7-0 when committing one or few turnovers, which has been key for them this year, getting the ball out quickly and safely to their playmakers. Hopefully, Buffalo is able to keep their season alive if Josh Allen is okay, even if he misses just this week or a few weeks. Hopefully, he comes back in time to give Buffalo a real chance at making a run. The Vikings are rolling and take down the Bills in Buffalo here.
Yeah, like I said, this was a kind of a tough one. I went back and forth, and I'm kind of with you. Like, take kind of what we're saying with this one with a grain of salt. As we're recording this on Wednesday night, we're still unsure of the status of Josh Allen. I'm on your side though. With the if I had to bet, it doesn't. I don't think he'll play this week. They still have a lot of season ahead. But I'm gonna take still the Bills to win this one, even if Case Keenum's in the lineup. I'm gonna take them 21-18, but another one where I'm gonna thread the needle by taking Vikings plus 5.5, and then we're going to go with under 45.5 here. Like I said, recording this Wednesday evening. There's no news on really the severity of the injury. It sounds like it might just be a sprain, but those elbow things are weird. He could go out and mess it up on the next throw. I think that he's held out due to caution, but the Bills are 0-2 in the division, and it's not going to be a cakewalk that it seemed to be at the beginning of the year for the AFCs. And they're also playing for the 1 seed, which they, I think, desperately need to avoid going to Kansas City for an eventual AFC title game matchup that we're all kind of envisioning. So I think they give him a week's rest to kind of reassess after that. I still think with Keenum that they'll be able to keep it pretty competitive, and especially being at home, that gives them the extra benefit. But typically, when we see a backup quarterback come in and have success, he has a really good run game to pair with that. And the Bills lack that for sure. Maybe Josh Allen being out for 1 or 2 weeks is kind of a blessing in disguise if they're able to go, 1-1, split like 2 games, but they are able to like unlock this like kind of rushing attack with Devin Singletary, Naheem Hines, James Cook in the fold. And then when Josh Allen gets back, throw him back in there with his design runs as well. I think that would really help this offense, and especially down come playoff time as well. I think the Vikings are good, but I still like the Eagles and 49ers and probably even the Cowboys over them in the AFC. Without Josh, it's going to be hard for the Bills to win, like we've kind of touched on, but Keenum has shown the ability to step up in the absence of a starter and win games, just like he did for the Vikings, taking them all the way to the NFC title game back in 2017. So going to Buffalo, never easy. So I'm going to take the Bills to win with or without Josh Allen in the lineup, but thread the needle, taking the Vikings to cover that 5.5 point spread. We move on to the third game of the week now. This one I've seen on like commercials dating back like the past few weeks, and this is probably one of the biggest games on Fox of the year, rating wise, they'll get, and one of the ones they were anticipating the most. But the Packers have been just downright awful this year. We got the 6-2 Cowboys traveling to the 3-6 Packers at Lambeau Field. Cowboys come in as 5-point favorites, over under 43, 425 on Fox. If the Packers lose this game, Kev, do you think they have any chance of making the playoffs?
No, I don't. I think their season's over after this week.
Wow.
And so, obviously, by my answer there, I think I'm taking the Cowboys 24, Packers 17. Cowboys cover the 5 points and the under of 42 hidden. The Packers stink, and they're applying a top-tier defense of unit this week in Green Bay. The Packers season is over after this week as they fall to 3-7, and I think it's time to start asking the question, is it time to bring Jordan Love in to see what he's got and maybe just throw him out there and, like I said, see what he's got going on Mike McCarthy is making his return to Green Bay where he won a Super Bowl, and I think the Cowboys players know that and want to win it for him. The Cowboys defense also leads the league in sacks and is also a very aggressive secondary, always looking for turnovers, and very uncharacteristically of Rodgers, he's been giving them to teams lately. Both defensive struggle against the run, allowing over 130 yards a game. However, I think the Cowboys' backs are better at this point. Zeke and Pollard are a fantastic duo, while Jones and Dillon can be great, but Jones is a little banged up. The offense around them also isn't as good as the Dallas offense. The Packers are a team pretty banged up on both sides of the ball, and I think Dak will have a solid game here, complementing the running of Zeke and Pollard.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys to win this one too. I was tempted to take the Packers due to the kind of just desperation factor, but it's another game where I'll do the old thread the needle. I'll take the Cowboys to win outright, but the Packers to cover 23-19. Dallas wins. So Packers +5 under 42 hits there, or excuse me, under 43 hits there with a total of 42. If it doesn't happen for the Packers this week, it's just not going to happen at all. They lose this game, they fall to 3-7, and they have games against the Titans, Eagles, Vikings, and Dolphins still on the schedule. We could see this team, realistically lose 10 games, maybe even 11. After many pegged them coming into the year as the Super Bowl kind of favorite in the NFC, I didn't see it with the lack of passing game options, and now we're kind of seeing that to the forefront. It's the same thing with the Bucks. They just clearly aren't good, but as long as number 12 is back there, you might just kind of talk yourself into believing that they have a chance to go out there and win the game. If they want to win this game, I think they might need like a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, something like that. The Packers, though, have been awful in the turnover department this season with a -5 differential, and the Cowboys rank near the top with a +6 differential. So, with that being said, I don't think the Packers' offensive line is going to be able to block the Cowboys' front and how good they've been this year, or win the turnover battle, which would be a recipe for another loss for Green Bay, pushing them to 3-7. And like you said, maybe we see some Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers just signed this big contract extension, but who knows? Another team might want to take a chance on him. His time in Green Bay might just be up. You could look for a trade if you're kind of comfortable with Jordan Love going forward. But this Packers season has just been a disaster, and I think this is kind of the final nail in the coffin this week. Fourth game of the week, we go to Sunday Night Football. Chargers at 5-3 at the 49ers, 4-4 coming off the bye. Niners are -7, over under 45.5. 8:20 p.m. NBC Sunday Night Football game.
I'm taking the Niners 31, Chargers 17. The Niners covering the 7 points, the over of 45.5 hidden. I've always been pretty high on the Niners and I've never really believed in the Chargers. Every year it seems like the same old story with the Chargers. Every game always seems like they can be next in line, and it just never happens for a variety of reasons. The Niners are a very well coached team and continually meet or exceed expectations, I think. The 49ers are also coming off the bye, and the Chargers have also, like always, have a zillion injuries. Kyle Shanahan had 2 weeks to think of new play designs and concepts for Christian McCaffrey, which I think he just enjoyed so much doing the past 2 weeks. Jimmy G is also going to make enough throws to outplay this not great Chargers team, and the 49ers defense is still pretty solid.
I like the Niners to win this one pretty easily. I think the Chargers have a chance like at a backdoor cover or something, but a game where the 49ers will be in control most of it. I'm going to take 49ers 24, Chargers 21. So we'll go Chargers +7, under 45.5. This was my preseason Super Bowl matchup with the Chargers beating the 49ers. And with both teams, not surprisingly, struggling due to injuries for this early part of this season. It seems like both these teams are always banged up, but they both seem to be getting a bit healthier and finding their stride right now, and that's kind of what they need as we head into the second half of the season. I know it was only the Falcons last week, but the Chargers haven't been able to stop anything on the ground, and the Falcons have one of the better rushing attacks in the league. And the Chargers, made the cross country trip, played pretty respectable, and found a way to win that game. That's kind of the mark of a good team, when you kind of are able to go against some of the things that you're poor at and still find a way to win. 49ers, on the other hand, coming off a bye. McCaffrey, as you said, should be fully unlocked. It looks like Nick Bosa will be back. Trent Williams is back, getting healthier. The 49ers, I think, are the main threat in the NFC to the Eagles. I think the Chargers are a bit fraudulent, though. As high as I was on them coming into the year, I just don't see it with this team, especially with the health status of a bunch of guys like Joey Bosa, Rashawn Slater, Keenan Allen somehow still battling a hamstring injury. Mike Williams out, but they are getting a few pieces back. I don't think they're going to have enough on offense this week, with Josh Palmer most likely being their number one receiver again. He had a nice week last week, but that's against a poor Falcons secondary. Chargers always seem to play in these like close and weird games, though, where I think they'll find a way to kind of keep it close at the end, like I said at the beginning of this, and find a way to cover. But the 49ers are just a better team coming off that extra rest. And the Chargers, I think, still without Mike Williams and most likely Keenan Allen again. It's just too much for them to handle. So give me 49ers 24, Chargers 21. In our fifth and final game of the week, we go to Monday Night Football. Commanders 4-5. Come to Philly for the 8-0 Eagles. Should have been Carson Wentz return game, but he will not play due to his thumb injury. Eagles minus 11, over under 44. Monday Night Football, 8:15 on ESPN.
I got the Eagles winning a relatively close one, 23, Commanders 20. The Commanders covering those 11 points and the under of 44 hidden. I said last week I think this could end up being the Eagles' first loss of the season. I thought about it a lot all week, and I just wasn't able to talk myself completely into it, even though I do think it could happen realistically. The Eagles are coming off a nice mini bye week, having played Thursday night in Houston, and now they get an even bigger break playing Monday night at home. I don't think the Eagles' defensive line will have as many sacks as they did against Wentz earlier this year, because I think Taylor Heinicke at this point might be a better quarterback overall, and he definitely seems to have a little bit better pocket presence than Wentz does. That said, I think there will be pressure in his face all day, and Heinicke is known to make some risky decisions, so it'll be up to the Eagles' defense to take advantage of that. The Washington defense has been improving throughout the year, and Chase Young may be back this week, which could add to that already pretty terribly like scary offense or defensive line. I think the Eagles will be able to control the clock and not make any costly bad decisions, but won't blow Washington out of the water in this game. I will say that Heinicke will have a game-sealing pick at the end of the game late for the Birds.
I like the Eagles to win once again and move to 9-0, but Commanders keep it respectable. Eagles 26, Commanders 17. So we go Commanders plus 11, under 44, making all 5 of my picks against the spread this week the underdog. So we'll see how that goes. But we saw last week, I think, that Taylor Heinicke kind of finds a way to run out of his magic. He'll have those two like nice starts, make some flashy plays, lead some comebacks. But then he kind of always reverts back to what he is, and that's just like a backup quarterback, a spot starter in the league. And I don't think he's going to have much more tricks up his sleeve this week against an Eagles team as they stay undefeated and move to 9-0. Even playing on the road last week, short week, Thursday Night Football, played pretty poorly for most of the first half. Jalen Hurts had a turnover. Philly still found a way to win by 12. They dominated Washington in that first matchup of the season, like you said, Kev, sacking Wentz 9 times, I believe. And Devontae Smith had a really nice day in the passing game. I think it was 189 yards on 10 catches for a touchdown. So Washington's defense has improved over the last 5 games, though, allowing 21 points or less in each of those. The Eagles, though, have put up 20 points in every single game this season and are averaging 28 a game. I think the minimum that they put up, just like they've been all season, is 20. And with how good this defense is playing with a turnover quarterback like Heinicke, I think that's all they're going to need in this one. I have them getting 26, but I think 20 would win it for them. Division game, second time around, so I think it'll stay somewhat competitive. But Jalen Hurts and the boys on offense find a way to make a few plays. Defense causes a few turnovers, and the Birds go to 9-0 on the season with, not much competition in sight. I think the first kind of tough game that I might be worried about is that December 4th game against the Titans. All right, now we roll into the last 2 parts of the show, our best bets and our upset special. I'll start it off with the best bet, like always. Hit one last week with the Patriots Colts going under 39.5, I believe was the number. Hit that one, smacked pretty easy. I think it was 26-3 the final. I'm going to go with another under this week on a pretty low total with 40.5 in the Texans and Giants games. 2 pedestrian offenses. This one's like screaming like a 20-17 Giants final for me. A lot of running plays, a lot of emphasis on getting the ball to probably the 2 most talented offensive guys in this game, in Saquon Barkley and Dameon Pierce, both teams attempting to control the clock. I'm going to put another bet down that this is the fastest game in the 4 o'clock window. It might finish by 4 o'clock, or excuse me, the 1 o'clock window. It might finish by 4 o'clock, while some of these other games are maybe just going into the fourth quarter. But Pierce is averaging 18.5 attempts per game on the ground, which is fourth in the league, and Saquon Barkley 20.7 attempts per game, which is second. I think that means there's going to be a continued heavy emphasis on the run game, especially from both sides in this one. Neither have dangerous passing attacks. We see the ball kept on the ground. You just got to hope that they don't break off some long runs. But I really like a lot of running plays in this one to be a low scoring affair. So under 40.5 in the Texans and Giants.
It's my best bet. I'm taking Titans -3 versus the Broncos. Titans are a hard-nosed team who will be able to take advantage of the fallen Broncos offense. Derrick Henry's back to being arguably the best running back in the league, leading the league in rushing, and the Broncos waved the white flag by dealing Bradley Chubb, so I don't think they have a whole lot to play for anymore, and I just think the Titans are a pretty good team.
All right, now on to the upset special, our underdog moneyline winner. I'm going to go with the Steelers this week over the Saints plus 120. They are 2.5 point dogs at home. Mike Tomlin off the bye during his time as a Steelers coach, 11-4-1. They've outscored their opponents on average by a touchdown, and they have also won their last 5 in a row off the bye. I think giving Kenny Pickett kind of another week of preparation, rest. He's gotten his feet wet a little bit with a few starts. I think he might be able to come out and have a nice game in this one. And then last week against the Ravens on Monday Night Football, the against the Saints on Monday Night Football, the Ravens were able to kind of exploit the Saints on the ground. Kenyon Drake had 2 rushing touchdowns. I think coming off the bye, they want to get the ball into Najee Harris's hands more and give him some more touches. I think he has kind of a nice performance in this one to help lead the Steelers at home to a victory over the Saints here.
So for my upset special, I took the Lions money line over the Saints at plus 128. They're +3 on the road. Of the upset I didn't already talk about, I do like the Seahawks and the Vikings upsets more than this one, but this is something new that we didn't already talk about. I like this one the most besides those. I don't fully trust the Bears yet, and the Lions may be able to continue their winning streak here.
All right, well, that will do it this week for NFL Big Five games of the week, the Week 10 edition. Any last second comments before we head out, Kev?
Yeah, go Birds again this weekend.
All right, sounds good. We will talk next week.